Right now, we're going to be bringing in a friend of the show, one of our favorites. She is one of the brightest minds in all of fantasy football. She is the VP of Marketing for Trophy Smack, and she's joining us here today. Please welcome to the show. Welcome back to the show, Kelly Singh. Kelly, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. I hope it isn't too noisy. I'm actually having blinds installed. Surprise this morning.
Hello, blinds being installed. You also, for those of us who are listening on the radio, AM 1530 WCKG, and don't get the visual, Kelly is being held hostage somewhere. Blank wall. What is going on? Can you not? I understand the blinds are being hung. Can you not hang a poster?
I've only lived in this studio for a couple months. I guess there could be a poster at this point, but there's not.
Listen, we plan on having you on this show quite a bit. So listen, go listen. You live, I don't want to say where you live, but I will say you're in the city of Orange, and there's a place called the Orange Circle. If you're a big fan of the movie, That Thing You Do, they film scenes there. There's like a million thrift stores. And I know there's a store that sells old movie posters. So get out there and get one. With that Trophy Smack money, you're just throwing around town, going to O'Hara's, running up huge tabs. But listen, fantasy season is upon us. We have one game in the books already, or depending on when you're listening to this, but one game in the books already. How excited are you for the fantasy season? Are you ready to go? Are you overthinking things?
I'm always overthinking things. Yes. I'm sure I'm overthinking things, but that's all right. It's part of the game.
Let me ask you, this offseason, for whatever reason, I was getting randomly drawn pick 1.02. And at some point this offseason, I was really huge on Christian McCaffrey. That switched to Justin Jefferson just because I wanted a little diversity in my fantasy portfolio. Who has been your biggest ride or die, a guy that you have had on pretty much all of your rosters this offseason?
Well, it's any tight end, really, but I will go with quarterback Jalen Hurts. I got so much flack last season for having a lot of Jalen Hurts. And then by the end of the season, they realized, hey, this guy scores points. There's some chatter here. But yeah, so he scores points. He's running. He's worth it. So that's been one that I loved last season, and it's been harder to get a hold of him this season because everybody caught on.
Yeah, the ADP kind of shot through the roof. He gives you the nice rushing floor. Who are some other quarterbacks that you're looking at that, and I know people have their drafts already done, but if you're playing DFS or anything like that, who are some players that we need to look at this week?
Okay, well, quarterback's tough, yeah, because everybody has pretty much their starting quarterback. But here's something I found really interesting as it relates to DFS. Lamar Jackson's priced incredibly low this week, especially on DraftKings. When I look at the competition, the other big names, I believe it was like 7-6 or something stupid like that, where everybody else, if you don't play DFS, in comparison would be around 9. So Lamar Jackson, I thought would be obvious, but it's apparently not. And I think that's crazy considering the matchup this week against the Jets. Lamar should be able to run circles around them. Other quarterbacks, if you need a streaming quarterback for whatever reason, don't overlook Jared Goff. I know it sounds silly, but he's got great protection, and the Lions are really ramping up this year. So don't overlook Jared Goff if you need to stream a quarterback this week.
Too late. I've already overlooked him, and I've moved on to other people. I will point out too, I love Lamar Jackson this week. Obviously, it's a little bit like you're talking about the Joe Flacco revenge game because he's going to be the starting quarterback for the New York Jets, but you're like, Lamar Jackson's going up against his former mentor. It's like Johnny Lawrence going up against Terry Silver. Like there's there's a rivalry built in. I don't know if there's heat between them or anything like that, but you're going up against the former guy that you replaced. There's a little bit of extra motivation. And last season, the Jets allowed the 4th most rushing yards. So that, and Lamar Jackson gets a lot of his points on the ground. So I love that pick. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Love the Lamar Jackson thing. Let me ask you, though, I want your opinion on this. I've been looking at Trevor Lawrence this week, going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. The last 4 times that Doug Peterson has gone up against the Washington squad, his teams have scored over 30 points. And Trevor Lawrence, to me, like, people kind of forgot, like, oh, yeah, he's good. We've been watching him since he was a freshman at Clemson. I really believe that, if you have that extra roster spot, like, maybe, like, what if he has a Justin Herbert type breakout game? Like, I think you need to add him before the week starts, because you don't want to be sitting there on Tuesday morning being like, now I got to give up fab or waiver position or something like that. What is your feeling on Trevor Lawrence?
I think this is going to be a good year for Trevor Lawrence. Just like you said, people forgot that he's actually good. And with the addition of, new players, he's going to be even better. He's got new weapons. I think it's time.
I think it's time too. I love it. And, I feel for our friends down in Duval County. I think they're good fans, that they get a lot of unnecessary hate as well. So I think there's like a little bit of a kinship there between us and the Bears fans. What about the running back position? I know, I'm just prodding you. I'm just prodding you for information. I need help filling out these lineups. I'm going on to Underdog, trying to fill out a lineup. Who should I be looking at for the running back position?
I think we may have talked about this before last time I was on, just out of speculation. But if you don't have one of the big names, we're talking JT, Eckler, Cook, whatever. How about AJ Dillon? Because a lot of people overlook AJ Dillon in favor of Aaron Jones. But if you were to look at their statistics side by side, essentially they're the same player. It just so happens that Aaron Jones made some more spectacular, more visible plays that created more hype around him. But however, if we're talking about touches, yards, fantasy points, AJ Dillon is a strong swap for one of these bigger names. I really like him. I also really like Melvin Gordon for this week. I know he's older. I know he's injury prone. Say what you will. But if you're seeing this prior to the game, they're facing Seattle this week, and Seattle has a terrible run defense. So I would expect Melvin Gordon to play well this week, and not only because he's an excellent running back. We can't overlook the fact he's Melvin Gordon. He's elite in his day, right? We can't overlook that. And the fact that we have Russell Wilson facing his old team, and he's going to use every opportunity to pull out every trick in the book to win.
No, that's a huge thing. I'm glad you brought up these two players specifically, because I think that there's a direct correlation between the both of these. Now, number one, with AJ Dillon, I got to the point in some of my drafts where I knew that everybody knew that I loved Aaron Jones. So he started going ahead of me. Like, we were doing a league with the NFL Fantasy Live guys. Every player that I've been talking about for the last 3 weeks went off the board super early. In my league of record with my friends that I grew up with, super early. I got to the point where I was happy to allow Aaron Jones to be overdrafted because I just waited and took AJ Dillon. And then coming out this week, Allen Lazard has missed practice time. And again, I don't have the Friday practice report in front of me, but we'll go and look. We'll see what Allen Lazard's status is. But the thing is, he missed time this week. There is no Packers receiver on that roster right now who had more than 600 receiving yards last season. This team is going to run the football. And A.J. Dillon is going to be one of the biggest beneficiaries of all of that. Similarly, the head coach of the Denver Broncos came from that Green Bay system, which last year produced two running backs who had over 1,100 scrimmage yards. Now he's going up against the Seattle Seahawks, and the big name is like Russell Wilson. Oh, Russell Wilson's out there. He's facing his former team. Seattle's terrible. Russell Wilson's not the kind of guy who just wants to go out there and drop 6 touchdowns. Like if this was a situation where Aaron Rodgers was facing the Packers, oh, he's going for 6 touchdowns. Russell Wilson just wants to win. He's a cornball. He doesn't care about any of that. He's going to allow Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon, both of them to eat, going up against a team that allowed the most fantasy points to running backs last season. I love both those players. And they're so cheap if you are doing daily fantasy. And if you're just playing season long and you have them on your bench, get them in there. Do what you got to do to get them in there.
100% agree. I guess the last one, I don't have tons to say about running back Chase Edmonds, but I will say that the Cardinals don't get any respect. And once those players leave and go to another team, all of a sudden they're becoming this, household name. Chase Edmonds isn't necessarily a household name, but they gave him a huge contract in Miami, and I expect to see great things from him. And I think he's going to surprise a lot of people this year.
Yeah, you know why he got a huge contract in Miami is because Mike McDaniel loves to run the football. I mean, we saw it during the offseason. Everybody loved talking about Tyreek Hill. Oh, what's Tyreek Hill going to do with Jalen Waddle? Here's a throw from Tua Tagovailoa that we could dissect over and over again that some poor kid in the social media team should not have been putting out there. But the fact remains, this team's going to want to run the ball first. And I don't know how effective they can be this week against the New England Patriots because we feel like their defense is going to be good. As big of a mess as the Patriots offense is, the defense is still pretty good. There should be no questions about that. But I think Chase Edmonds is one of those guys that we look at over the course of the season that you look back and you're like, I'm so glad I drafted this guy. Did you get a lot of shares of him?
Not a lot, but I've got plenty. Yeah, I'm looking forward to see what happens.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see what Mike McDaniel does to that offense. And you know what? And it's a thing too. Like this week, we got Mike McDaniel going up against Bill Belichick, which a lot of times rookie head coach, first time out of the gate, going up against Belichick, just feels like a recipe for disaster. But at the same time, we've seen Bill Belichick's teams slow play themselves into seasons. Like, oh, there's so much going on. I don't know what to do with Chase Edmonds. I want to start him, but then I don't. I don't know. I don't think you've helped, Kelly. Thank you. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm joking. You're helping. What about the wide receiver position? Who are some of the guys we're looking at?
Okay, wide receivers. Obviously, you're going to play your Cup, your Jefferson, your Diggs, your Chase. But what about Amari Cooper? He's developed a great relationship with Brissett. Hold on. I think he's going to use this screwdriver here in a second. Let me see how noisy this is.
Like the electronic screwdriver? Oh, there it is. You know, let me say a few words if he's still doing it. No, just go. We're fine.
Okay. I really apologize. So
no problem.
Amari Cooper, he's developed a great relationship with Brissett. He's going to be there to bail him out if things go sideways. And look at that mute button action.
Look at
Cooper has amazing hands. He is the guy that's going to catch anything that's thrown at him. So they have this chemistry. If Brissett's in trouble, he's going to be looking for Amari Cooper for sure. And then
wait, hold on. I'll stop you there. No, I love that pick. I've seen a lot of I think we were talking about it on the NFL Fantasy Live on Wednesday. I think if I'm not mistaken, Michael F. Florio had Amari Cooper as a sit. I'm with you. I go the other way. I look at what Amari Cooper did when he arrived in Dallas. Like what a comforting presence he was for Dak Prescott and his development. In addition to that, I also look at this game and I think game script. I think the Panthers are going to end up winning this game. And I think that the Browns are going to find themselves in a situation where they have to throw the football. And when you're throwing the football, you're going after Amari Cooper.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Like I said, he catches like everything. It's like he's Velcro. The other wide receiver I really like, you don't have Devontae Adams. Okay. I hope you got some Hunter Renfrow because he's going to see some action in this week. I'm not saying season long, but this week they're facing the Chargers. The Chargers have some injuries going on, which leaves them weak in their defensive areas, and that opens up an opportunity for Hunter Renfrow, who loves that long ball. So I am excited to see what happens there. Not saying he's your WR1, but toss him in there.
No, I like, you know what? Hunter Renfrow is another one that people are trying to avoid this week. And like you, I'm going the other way. Like I just, especially, you know, if you look at the Vegas numbers right now, if this game is not the number one game for total points, it's pretty close. And I think over the last, I think it's 6 contests, these teams have averaged close to 53 points per game. There's going to be a bonanza of points. If there's any side to be scared of, I think the Raiders defense has improved by bringing in Chandler Jones to go along with Max Crosby. I know, you know, the Chargers made a big acquisition to get Khalil Mack, and maybe this is one of the games that he shows up for this season. And I know J.C. Jackson, I've seen this play before. When Malcolm Butler went to Tennessee and was an utter disappointment, the fact that you were all just counting on J.C. Jackson to be as good as he was in New England, I think is going to end up biting you. So I'm not afraid of any Raiders receiver. I'm with you, Kelly.
Yes. I don't see why we should be afraid of it. I think he's going to be great. And just like he always is, he just fills in that utility spot. I think he does what he's supposed to do. And that's what I like about Hunter Renfrow. Right. We're talking about tight ends on this
Wait, look, may I ask you one question? Because one receiver I seem to get a lot of all over the place, and people are like, oh, he's great. This is going to be an ideal situation for him. What are we doing with Ceedee? I mean, obviously, if you drafted Ceedee Lamb, yeah, you don't have a roster that where you can bench him. Over the course of the season, should I be worried about? I just don't feel great. Like, I have Ceedee Lamb way too many spots. I don't feel great about it. Am I wrong? Am I not seeing something? Am I misconstrued here?
I'm actually really glad that you said that, because I also have that same feeling about Ceedee Lamb. He is somebody that's so appealing and the numbers look so good. However, it's just, is he going to get hurt? Is he going to drop it? What's going on with Ceedee Lamb? And does he have a good rapport with Dax Prescott? I can't figure it out. It's like this puzzle.
Yeah. That again, I was hoping that you were going to make me feel better about this, but you're just making me fearful even more so.
Same, and I see him go so early in the draft, and I'm like, am I missing something? I don't know. I thought he was so exciting last year, but then it wasn't that exciting.
No, that is I'm so concerned about it. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know why. But I also sometimes pivot off players that I shouldn't. And I'm like, maybe I'm just wrong. You know, the consensus of the fantasy community seems to be of the belief that he's worthy of a top 12 pick. All right, I'll give him a shot. I really should have gone with the second running back, but you know what? I'll live and learn probably. So I'm glad that we're both in the same boat with Ceedee Lamb. What about some tight ends? I know I cut you off. You had some tight ends to give us.
You know, with tight ends, I think it's pretty much your top guys, your usual suspects. And I want to throw out there somebody for this week in particular, and probably the whole year, Albert O, who we also discussed last time I was on with you. Russell Wilson is going to be targeting all of his receivers this week in particular. And not just that, Albert O is a good player, and I think he's really going to shine, and I'm super excited to see it. We need some new life in the tight end room. I mean, there's always Schultz, I think, with Dallas is going to have a great opportunity this year as well, and you can read that in every analyst article. I don't see any reason to disagree, although when I see that much hype, I get concerned. But I don't see a reason to be upset about it or disagree in any way. But Albert O, I think, is my very favorite play for this week.
Oh, you love Albert Akuyabunam, and at some point you'll make the leap in saying the name, and that's fine. What about our guy? Are we playing Cole Kmet this week? Can I play him?
You know what? I would play Cole Kmet this week just for the fun of it because there's so much disdain. You're either on Team Kmet or you're not. And I have plenty of shares of him just out of spite. So I want to see what happens this week and this season with Cole Kmet.
Oh my gosh. I love spite players that you just pick out of spite. I feel like Kirk Cousins is a little that way. But over the last couple of drafts, people have been snaking Kirk Cousins for me, and I'm upset.
Yeah, I think if you have Kirk Cousins, it'd be in a stack. I don't know. Are you grabbing him just on his own out of spite?
I don't know. Maybe a little bit. I am a big believer. Listen, I'm a big believer for whatever reason in this offense of the Minnesota Vikings, and everybody is now accusing me of being a Vikings fan. But honestly, I want the Vikings to score a lot of points and go 4-13. Let's talk about it. Let's just talk about the Bears. This little bonus part of the podcast to send us home to be talking about, because you follow football, so you know football. But let's put this in a little bit of fantasy context. How are you feeling about Justin Fields as a quarterback, whether it translates to fantasy points or not? How are you feeling about Justin Fields in week 1?
I want to feel good about it.
Okay.
I think he wants to show that he can play, and he can play. So as long as he can go out there and not have the yips, I think it's going to be just fine. I think he's talented. He can do this. Maybe that's just the mom in me.
Yeah.
You can do it.
You can do it. But don't you think, do you feel the same way about Trey Lance? Because I think Trey Lance has as many questions, and he's got all the pressure of taking over a team that has Super Bowl aspirations.
I have no idea why so many people feel so confident about Trey Lance. Honestly, I have the same exact vibe. I want him to do well. I want to see him succeed because who doesn't like a good story like that? But yeah, there are way too many unknowns.
Oh, I love the fact that we were on the show the other day and everybody's like, oh, start Trey Lance. Make sure you start. I'm like, I don't know why you guys are so weirdly confident. And if it's because, and again, earlier on in the show, I think you were in the green room when I was going over some of the stats from last year, from a team that was completely different. We didn't have the coach. We didn't have a lot of these players. It's a completely different team. And you guys are just out there like, dude, here comes Trey Lance. It's not Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow went out there and excelled at LSU. He was a recruit to Ohio State. Trey Lance went to North Dakota State, barely played. And, it was a COVID year and everything like that. You guys are weirdly confident in that for whatever reason. Let's talk about the captain, though. The honorary captain for this week for the Chicago Bears is David Montgomery. And we love the clip of Matt Eberflus talking about the captains. And by the way, Dan Campbell is an entertainer. It's good television. When I watch Matt Eberflus, I still it's not the clown show that Dan Campbell is, but it's I get fired up. And I love talking and I love listening to him talk about it. So the fact that David Montgomery is a captain this week means a lot to me. How do you feel sitting there in not Arizona, but in Orange, California? How do you feel about David Montgomery? Is he gonna have a big game?
I have plenty. If you're just tuning in, I'm having blinds installed this morning, and it's an exciting adventure. But David Montgomery, Adam, I'm so embarrassed. David Montgomery, I think, is going to have a good year. I have plenty of shares of him. I think he's an excellent later mid-round, I guess it'd be mid-round pickup. And that's one you shouldn't skip on. It's definitely on everybody's queue, I would hope.
Very much. I agree with you. And listen, I know you've got the blinds. We appreciate you making the time for us here this morning. I want to give you an opportunity to plug Trophy Smack. Is it too late? So the season started. I know your big period's gone. Can people still, is it too late to get involved with Trophy Smack?
No, it's never too late, especially because we have some exciting new offerings coming later this year that don't necessarily have to be a trophy to commemorate a team or a league. We have plenty of things that you can do to celebrate everyday occasions, and just be on the lookout for that. It's pretty exciting. And if I may, maybe
Yes.
I'm allowed to do this.
Okay.
I am recording the Sick podcast with Kelly Singh today about the
What?
Cardinals.
No, you're not allowed to say this. They're not going to come up here and promote a rival podcast. How dare you? Is this for real? You're using this time, this valuable time, this valuable piece of real estate to talk about the former Chicago team, the Chicago Cardinals, who played their games at Comiskey Park, where my dad used to go. He's like, it was too hard to get tickets for Bears games. I had to go to Comiskey when they played the Cardinals. But tell us a little bit about the Sick Podcast, Arizona, talking about the Arizona Cardinals.
Yep, we'll be talking about the Arizona Cardinals. I don't have a guest this week, but I will be there getting you hyped up for week one. I'm an Arizona Phoenix native and was super excited when the team came to Phoenix. They've been the Phoenix Cardinals, and now they're Arizona Cardinals. And we have plenty to talk about with Kyler's new contract and injuries and all kinds of exciting stuff. So I can't wait for the season.
And I noticed you had the blinds installed now, not when you're doing the Arizona podcast, the Sick Podcast with Kelly Singh, talking about all things Arizona. Again, okay, so that's what you got to do. You got to go down this week, go get some wall decorations. So next time that you come on to talk fantasy, you'll have some Arizona stuff behind you. Maybe go get a nice Jake Plummer photo. Pat Tillman, one of my favorite players of all time. Going back to his time at ASU. I've written about it. If you go to my Twitter page, I have a pinned story about my brief interactions with Pat Tillman. But we're very excited to have you a part of the Sick family. Not only as one of our fantasy experts here on the Sick Podcast with Adam Rank, but also as part of the Sick Podcast Arizona. So we're super excited about that. And I want to thank you for your time. Tell us once again how we can follow you on Twitter. There it is, at Kelly in Phoenix, if you want to follow her on Twitter. But Kelly, thank you so much, and good luck with the new podcast.
Thank you. And I did not schedule this on purpose.
I know you didn't. You would never do that. You would have sacrificed your own show before you would have put us in mortal danger. So I appreciate you. But thank you so much for being here. I'll talk to you a second in a green room, but I'm going to get you out of here. Get out of here, Kelly. There she goes, the great Kelly Singh. Big thanks to everybody who joined us here on the Sick Podcast today. Of course, we had Jennifer Lee Chan, the former wrestler, talking about the San Francisco 49ers. We had some great 49ers talk this week. Bears 49ers talk this week. Listen, we've gone over the Bears enough. It's good to get a little insight into our opponents. And, of course, Kelly Singh, who will be joining us throughout the season periodically. We had her. Hopefully we'll get Sammy Praviti back on the show real quick. So we'll always have a trip to Fantasy Island for you each and every week. So I hope you appreciate that. We'll help you get your lineup set. But that's going to be it for what we got going on. Like until Sunday. Oh, so much. Oh, by the way, before I forget, oh my goodness gracious, I should have mentioned this. Rip Beer Company in Southern California, Rip Beer Company in Huntington Beach, the location on PCH, that is going to be the home of a Bears watch party this weekend. If you're in Southern California, Rip Beer Company, Huntington Beach, get there around 10 a.m. for the game to start. We're going to have a television on that Bears 49ers game. Hope to see you there. Until then, bear down.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Adam Rank on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.